Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Conversations in 4Color, kind of our little video blog, where I, Kevin L. Powers, who is the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment Events, will kind of like give you an overview of a single comic book, manga, or graphic novel. So, I'm doing this episode today because I came across this really fun and unique comic book title. It was something I purchased on Kickstarter on a whim. If you don't know Kickstarter or Indiegogo or any of the amazing fundraisers out there, a lot of comic book artists and a lot of artists in general use those platforms in order to get the funds to produce their piece of art or comic book, and a lot of great comic books come about through Kickstarter. One of the ones that I picked up was a surprisingly entertaining comic book from Obscura Comics called BECCA BOO. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the original series BECCA BOO because the one I'm talking about today is actually a spin-off of this, but just to let you know that BECCA BOO is a character who, in a sense, is a blonde-headed bimbo using those caricatures in the comic book, who accidentally thinks that she has died and has come back as a ghost before she actually really does die and comes back as a ghost. The series is kind of like her misadventures as she tries to navigate the undead world or try to get herself to come back to the real world as a real human being, because she wasn't exactly the best of people when she was alive. That being said, her fortunes lead her to actually being someone who death is coming to claim, but death has different things for her. Death gives her an out to being able to come back to the real world, or that is what BECCA BOO thinks, which is the fact that she has to sleep with all the holidays in order for him to kind of grant her the wish to coming back to being human. Now, the comic that I'm going to talk about now actually has her. Well, let me just show you the cover of the comic. It is literally called, whoops, there we go. Wait, I almost had it. I'm gonna have to put a clip of it in there. But BECCA BOO versus St. Patrick's Day. Now, this is a St. Patrick's Day special, but it just actually was, I think the campaign happened during the actual holidays, but the comic book just recently came out in its physical copy. It's a very hilarious comic book because, it was made as a joke by Death to her, and she actually thinks that she needs to sleep with every holiday. Now, unfortunately for her, for this one, she thinks that it has to be a leprechaun, because leprechauns are what personify the holidays for St. Patrick's Day. But and you have to take this with a grain of salt and remember that this is supposed to be funny, and it really is quite funny because she does in fact eventually find a leprechaun. I'm not going to tell you exactly how, because that will ruin the actual aspects of the comic book, but she does find her way to a leprechaun. It just takes some getting used to with a male unicorn. Yes, it's very interesting. You should actually check this out. But she finds a leprechaun, but realizes that a leprechaun isn't St. Patrick. So then she must go out there and find the real St. Patrick, for who the holiday is actually based on. Needless to say, she does eventually find St. Patrick, and there is a whole bunch of other misadventures that kind of collate into this one story. But the great thing about this one, it ends with the fact that she's now gotten one check mark off of the holidays, and of course she now needs to move on to the next holiday, because she knows now that she can never become real again until she sleeps with all the holidays. Now, in theory, this should be a very dumb comic book. It should be really stupid, and it should be something that you probably just avoid, because there is a healthy sense of nudity in the comic book and all that type of stuff. In fact, they use that nudity as a way to sell the book itself, but it's cleverly written. So it almost feels like you're watching a female version of like South Park. It's so wrong in the way that it depicts everything. It's very, if you like South Park, you will love this book. It's hilarious as shit. I was not expecting anything of it when I first bought the original series. I was like, okay, it wasn't that much. I put some money down on the cheapest version. I didn't and I got it in the mail, and I was like, oh my god, this shit's hilarious. I'm gonna have to pick up more of this. I was not expecting it to be so funny. And I don't read funny books that often. If you've been listening to the regular podcast for this, Conversations in 4-Color, you'll know that there's not a whole lot of comedic type of books that I read. I actually read more books that are more dramatic and fantasy and sci-fi based. And I kind of steer clear away from superhero comic books and comedies. But I found that a lot of comedy writers or comedic writers are delving into these comic books that are more risque in subject matter on Kickstarter, and I found some amazing books through there. It's kind of changed my outlook on the whole funny books type of thing. So if you like comedy, you like irreverent humor, you like, the stupidity just for stupidity, you should check out the book. I will tell you this, in the regular book, it's both kind of a horror book and a comedy book mixed in. So what you have is you have her meeting Bloody Mary for the first time and trying to give her tips on how to be a better ghost. Which was hilarious. But that's just the tip of the iceberg for this. She does eventually sleep with death, and it becomes a whole thing, and it's hilarious. It's just one of those great, funny comic books that just goes by way too fast, and you wish that this was like a regular publishing schedule where you would get a new issue every month. Now, that will be the one thing I do have to say. A lot of the stuff on Kickstarter does not come out monthly. They come out periodically because obviously the artists are kind of doing the issue and then doing a campaign for the issue to make sure it sells. And then they'll do the next issue and do a campaign. That's kind of like the way that these work. There are a lot of great comics from Obscura Comics on Kickstarter. They kind of do that little thing with all of their titles, and you won't be disappointed. I've actually enjoyed a lot of the books on there, and a lot of them have very similar types of humor. There is a sense of nudity throughout these, or you can also get alternative covers with nudity, but that is not what really sells it. Well, maybe it actually is what sells it. But what keeps you coming back as a reader is how well some of these books are written, despite some of the things that help sell it. And I'm glad they have that type of stuff out there because, the artists putting these things together, the writers, the colorists, the artists themselves, and the whole publishing, they're doing a little bit more risque stuff because they know that they have to get an audience for some of this stuff. That because the comic book market is so flooded with lots and lots and lots of content, not just from the major publishers like DC and Marvel, but also in the smaller publishers. And then of course Obscura Comics comes way down because a lot of their stuff is self-published. So with that, I hope you will go check out this BECCA BOO versus St. Patrick's Day special. I am really looking forward to the other specials. I would just give you a hint that at the end of this one we do see a little hint of the Easter Bunny in the background, so that might be the next one, or they might go somewhere else with it. Who knows? They have plenty of time to get around to doing that, but I had a lot of fun with this. I hope that you will seek out this one and the regular series so you can get a better idea of what is going on in this comic book. It's actually really good, and also check out some of the other obscure comic books out there. I mean, one of my favorites is Murder Nun, and there's also one called Pumpkin, and there's tons of titles out there right now. Check them out. They're on Kickstarter. They go to the Obscura website, and I'll leave that in the notes. But just check it out. Check out all other types of independently produced comic books out there, whether they're on Kickstarter, whether they're on Indiegogo, whether they're on any other fundraising platform, or at your local comic book shop or bookstore. Check them out. There's tons of them out there. And from all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we hope you've enjoyed this, and we hope that you will check out the actual Conversations in 4-Color podcast, which is on our Patreon page, which is an exclusive podcast to our subscribers and our followers. So you will have to be a subscriber or follower in order to listen to the original podcast. But trust me, on the podcast, I talk about 5 or more different titles each episode, so you'll get a bigger kind of overall appeal of some of the other stuff that I read out there. And also, don't forget, leave me comments. Let me know what type of comic books you want me to read. If there are digital comics, send me links to them. If you are a comic book artist and you'd like me to review them, let me know. I will kind of read and give you an honest opinion about your comic books, regardless of what genre, where I can find them, and any of all that. So with all that, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I will see you on the next one, which will hopefully be real soon. Have a good day.